Welcome. This is the download and getting started tutorial for L5, a creative coding library in Lua. We're going to start by going to the download page, and I'm going to demonstrate how to download and install on a Macintosh computer. And you can see that we have detailed step-by-step instructions for each of these systems. I'm going to step through how to get started. So there are three main parts. We're going to download Love, also called Love 2D, which is our underlying framework. Then we're going to download the L5 starter. And then we're going to give permissions on our computer to allow these to work. And then we'll drag L5 starter onto Love to run our program. So the first start, we're going to download and install Love. I'm on a Mac. I'm going to click to install this 64-bit zipped. I click. Now, on your computer, you might have to click and allow, give permissions for the download, but mine was allowed. I'm in Firefox, so I can click here to unzip, or I can just go over to the desktop and jump to my downloads, and I can double click, and you'll see Love is in my downloads folder. Now, let's give permission to run it on our computer. If I double click Love, you'll see it says, Love not opened. Apple could not verify it is free of malware. Okay, why is it saying this to us? Well, you might be aware that on Mac, a developer has to pay $99 to get their program approved. And you might also be aware that when you're writing your own software, your own code, you generally have to do this. You have to say, yes, I understand the implications of me writing my own software. Um, so what we're going to do is we're going to jump to the system settings. We'll go down to the privacy and security. If you're in privacy and security, you're going to scroll down and we're going to go to the section that says Love was blocked to protect your Mac. And again, this is because they can't verify that the code you're writing yourself on here is approved, right? They can't verify that you're not going to write a virus, for example. Don't do that, or probably don't do that. We're going to use this for good. We're going to write our own software in L5. So we're going to say open anyway. This will allow it to run. We'll click open anyway. We have to type in our password. And this just confirms that Love is allowed to run on your computer. You see this bird balloon thing. Okay. That's not the norm. Going forward, we're going to see our own software running, but just the very first time, that makes sense. So we have Love installed. It'll work on our computer. That's great. The second step is we need to download the L5 starter. So I'm going to do that here. And I'm going to jump back to my computer and you'll see it's in the same folder. I'll double click it to extract it. And the process is actually fairly similar on a Windows machine, just to be clear. I'm now going to get rid of these zips. We don't need these. I'm going to move them to the trash. So I have L5 starter and I have Love. Let's just confirm that L5 starter works. I'm going to drop it onto Love. I'm going to drag and drop the whole folder. And we can see the sketch ran. That's great. Okay, so I'm going to close this. If I pop open the L5 starter folder, you'll see it contains the L5 Lua file. That's our main library file. Just like how if you are using P5.js, inside the folder there's a P5.js file and there's an index.html file. Well, with L5, you need the L5 Lua in your folder and you need main.lua. That's your sketch. That's where you're going to write your code. Okay, so let's say you wanted to customize this code and you want to write your own program. Where can you do that? Well, L5 exposes more of the seams than processing or P5 does. That's because processing comes with its own IDE, its own integrated development environment where you write your code, and P5.js has the great online P5.js editor. Well, we're not shipping our own custom editor for L5, although we hope to add an L5 mode to the processing IDE. But at least for right now, you can write L5 code in your favorite code editor. If you don't have a code editor installed on your computer, the fastest way to get started is the very bare bones text edit program. So for example, you could do open with, go to other, and choose in applications. You could go all the way down to text edit, and you could open it there. That's one option. It's not my favorite option, to be honest, because it doesn't do syntax highlighting. So this does work, but this isn't my favorite place. When I teach, I often like to teach Visual Studio Code, at least currently. So I'm going to actually open that. So I have Visual Studio Code on my computer. I'm going to open this and I'm going to go to File, Open Folder, and I'm going to find in my downloads my L5 starter folder. Here it is. You might have to say, okay, trust. I trust the code in this folder. And here is our starter code. You'll see a setup and you'll see a draw. If this is your very first time looking at L5 code, which it probably is since you're installing on your computer, you'll see at the very top, again, we're exposing the seams. We're pulling in the L5 library from the same folder. Our setup will run once. Our draw will run continuously. We don't use curly brackets to demarcate our setup and draw. We just write function setup and end at the end of our setup, and we say function draw at the end of our draw. Comments start with two hyphens, and some things that are maybe new to you. Window title lets us give a title for the window. Print to screen will produce the print, for example, print hello world, and I'll hit save. Describe is meant to provide a text output to the command line for any screen readers that can work with that. And draw is our continuous code. This is RGB, but we could change this to a color. For example, I'm going to do, I don't know, green, purple. Remember, these are the same color options from P5.js, so that means you could even write Rebecca purple. My note is wrong here. I might remove my little comment then. And I'm going to say draws a purple background. I'm going to hit save, Control S, and I'm going to go back to the desktop and I will drag L5 starter onto Lua. There it is. We can see our print output that we had because we're using print to screen. That puts our print right up there. And we can see our purple and the name of our sketch, Basic Sketch. And that is my introduction to installing, getting started working with L5.